What is going on, guys? MLB The Show 25. Now, I'm here talking about the state of this game. As you can see, this is a very weird created stadium. You know, because they have to create a stadium mode in this, and I created this weird stuff with these monsters or whatnot. But anyway, let's get into the state of this game and how I rate this game and how I see this game. Now, let's get into the discussion. Because MLB The Show for years has, to me, has been one of the premier top sports games. And I'm only talking about my own personal opinion. I'm not talking about overall ratings from any outside parties, or I have no influence from any other ratings. And I know there's other people that dislike the game, and there's other, there might be other reviews that are not as good. Now, I will tell you, MLB The Show 24, the check swing problem was just a little too ridiculous. They would check swing very consistently for no reason. I'm talking about as a user, you're trying to swing on a pitch and they just don't swing. They check swing and there's no apparent reason for it. Now, they've calmed it down a little bit, and to me, it's still in the game, and it's still, I'm not saying there shouldn't be check swings in it. There should be, because check swings are a part of baseball. But the problem I have with it is they check swing for no reason sometimes. As a user, you're fully pressing the swing button, and they just flat out refuse to let you swing at it. Now, MLB The Show 24 was a lot worse than this. I know that because I got a reminder of it. I played the game fairly recently, within the last couple of days, and I couldn't believe how often they would check swinging. I mean, it was just absolutely ridiculous. Those guys striking out, check swinging twice, and you're fully pushing the swing button, but they're just not letting you swing. It happens a little bit in this, but not nearly like MLB The Show 24 or 23. Those were far worse than this one. So they've calmed it down a little bit. However, it is still in the game, and it is still my biggest complaint in the game. To me, it's the biggest problem that the game has. Now, the other problems I have with this are very, very small stuff that are not a problem necessarily. Like, for example, I thought they should have added player collision. Player collisions are not really in this game. I mean, if your outfielders run into each other, they just go through each other. If you go, how sometimes you go home and they collide to the catcher. And I know that's not something that happens all the time in baseball. It's kind of a rare thing, but it at least should be a possibility, but it's not in the game. It didn't make it. However, like I said, it's a very rare thing, so I don't see it as a big deal, but I still kind of hold that against them a little bit because I think it should be in the game, And for all I know, maybe MLB has say in it. Maybe, I don't really know this, but I know Madden, NFL has say in what's in the game. They won't let you. There's injuries in Madden, but the NFL told them not to put concussions in there. So for all I know, maybe MLB may have not wanted collisions in the game for some reason. Maybe for the same reason Madden doesn't want concussions. I don't know that, but I do know that. And like I said, yes, the players go through each other, but it does not happen often. It's very rare. Now that I got that out the way, those are the only real two things that I can say, like pet peeves or things that I dislike about it. I really like the artificial intelligence, the way the CPU thinks, the way the pitchers think. They always seem to throw chase pitches when they have an advantage in the count to try to get you to bite on a pitch that's, try to fool you on a pitch. They seem to have very good intelligence most of the time. Most of the time, the CPU, when it comes to clutch situations or making manager decisions, this seems to be A+. The base running seems to be pretty good. Yes, they do make decisions that are not that great sometimes, but I think it's very on par with what you see in MLB in real life. And another thing I love about MLB The Show is if you compare it to the real product, like the real MLB, other than these created stadiums, you're not going to play with dinosaurs, but those don't really affect the game. They're just props for the background. But anyway, that has nothing to do with what I was talking about. But anyway, when you compare it to real baseball, I think it's closer to when you play NBA 2K and you compare it to the real NBA, or if you play Madden and you compare it to the real NFL. I think MLB The Show does a good job of replicating the real product when it comes to not necessarily like player likeness or anything like that, because like I said, the players do look like them for the most part, but I don't think the player likeness in this is as good as NBA 2K, games like that. Madden, I don't know. Madden, they seem to have really good player likeness when it comes to like main players, but they wear helmets and stuff, so it's not really impacting the game in an extreme way. But I think MLB The Show does a good enough job. No, they don't. They're not doing what NBA. It's not like NBA 2K. The players' skin textures. NBA 2K, you can see like sweat and veins and all this other stuff. This game lacks those super details, and none of the players have their actual like real tattoos or anything like that. Not that I know of. I've never seen it. I've never personally seen players with tattoos in this. I really don't think they have them. So the player likeness details are absent from the game. They're missing. So going forward, if they can add, for MLB The Show 26, maybe if they could take a couple steps further with player details. Like I said, me personally, I don't really need that. I'm more of a gameplay type person, and I just want to see them fix the check swing, and, that's what I want to see fixed first and foremost. Is that ridiculous check swing, because that can really mess your game up. When you're in a clutch situation, I've been in clutch situations late in the game, and I'm trying to swing at a really good pitch that's close to the middle, and he won't swing. He check swings. And there's nothing more annoying than that. And like I said, it's a lot better in 24. They've calmed it down. However, it's still in the game. But as you can see, Shohei Ohtani, hopefully I think I pronounced his name right. That does look like him, but the details of his face and the likeness is not on par with like what you would see in NBA 2K. It's not quite that. The skin textures and all that are a little bit like scaled back compared to games like maybe even EAFC might, and I don't really know. I don't think a lot of their players have strong detail likeness either. I think a few of them do, but not so many like you would see in NBA 2K. Madden, even though they have uniform, helmets and stuff, it doesn't impact the game as much. They've done an excellent job with player likeness, especially for the last couple of years. Probably a little bit more than MLB The Show. Like I said, they do make the players look like them, but they just don't. They're not super detailistic with it. But you can look at them and say it's them. That's for sure. And it's good enough. So if they were gonna improve this game for me, they would probably take maybe at least some little steps further in player details, even for created players. Maybe add tattoos. Obviously created players, it would be like generic tattoos like every other game, but at least give you the option to do that and put like real MLB players that have tattoos, put them on there. Maybe improve the skin texture a little bit to make them look a little bit more realistic, a little bit closer to what you would see in NBA 2K. Because to be honest with you, with the player skin textures, now the clothing textures, the background, the lighting, all that stuff is A+ when it comes to like, it falls on par with PS5. The lighting, the grass, the uniforms. but the player's skin textures and likeness, I think are more like PS4. Maybe even, the details are lacking a little bit, if I'm being honest with you. But yeah, for me, those are the only things, the key pointers that I can make about MLB The Show. However, MLB The Show is still my favorite sports title. I like it more than NBA 2K. Madden has gotten really good this year. I haven't played enough of it to really say, but I think Madden is really good this year. I think they've improved Madden's gameplay quite a lot. And I will tell you, over the years, I have videos on this channel, from a couple years ago talking about Madden games. I think it might be Madden 22, Madden 21, whatever, where I just really talk about how horrible the game is, how much I dislike the game. So I'm not biasly in favor of Madden, that's for sure, because I've had years where I couldn't stand the game, and like I said, I even have games on this, videos on this channel. And going back to the player likeness, that looks just like Freddie Freeman. But like I said, the batting stances, all that stuff looked really good in this. I would never, I have no complaints about that. It's just that they're lacking skin, texture, details, stuff like that. It's good enough for me, but if they're going to improve the game, like I said, I think it would be good to maybe take a step further with something like that. That's not a priority for me personally. I'm just saying, if you're going to take steps to improving the game, I want to see at least some level of player collision. And let's talk about the details of the game. The way the umpires make calls that are not perfect, I think that is awesome. It makes the game so realistic, because even the commentators will acknowledge when they make a bad call. Like if they throw a strike, or they call a strike for a pitch that's looks like it's a little outside of the strike zone, or if they call a ball for something that's inside that is in the strike zone, the commentators will openly acknowledge the call and say that, say something in the ballpark of, not agreeing with the call, or saying that, they may have gotten a break on the call, something like that. That I love about this. They got those little details in here. The commentators are really good in this as well. But yeah, like I said, MLB The Show to this point, and baseball is not my favorite sport. I'm more of a football, basketball guy. But I'm just talking about the video game itself. MLB The Show, to me, is just better than NBA 2K or Madden or EAFC. Now, over the years, EAFC or FIFA has been my number 2 game. And like I said, I'm a football, basketball guy in reality from my fanhood standpoint, but I'm just judging the video game itself. 1 ball, 1 strike. And I've been playing MLB The Show a lot over the years, playing seasons, going to the World Series, and just getting really into my seasons, because the way the games play out, I just really love them. And I look forward to MLB The Show 26. I'm very curious to see what they add. And I do know other players complain. They say MLB The Show doesn't take big enough steps to improve their product. Well, they're no worse than NBA 2K or Madden. I mean, every year they all take little steps. There's always that trademark new feature that they advertise. Like MLB The Show 24, they seem to have made a big deal of like the females being added into the game. And I want to talk about that for a second, because I've created females and put them in seasons and stuff. And that is crazy, because that has nothing to do with MLB in real life. But the fact that they gave you that option, they just said, you know what? Women don't play in MLB at all, but you know what? The heck with it. We're going to let them create women if they want. I thought that was kind of cool. And there's no, one video where somebody was complaining about it. Just don't do it. There's no women in the game, in the base game. You don't have to use it. Just don't create women. They won't be there. It didn't make any sense to even complain about it. It's not forced on you. It's if you don't create women, you won't have them in it. So that's not a legitimate complaint. It just makes no sense. But anyway, that's this video. I kind of rambled a little bit, but that's kind of what I do in my videos. I don't mind it. You know, maybe it makes the videos a little longer than they should be. But yeah, I'm a big fan of the MLB The Show games. I give these games a really high score compared to any other sports title I play. Again, I don't like baseball over any of these other sports. But I do like this game over Madden or NBA 2K. Now, I will admit, I haven't played a lot of Madden yet, but I'm liking what I'm seeing from what I've played so far. I think Madden has finally gotten to that point where they're making excellent games. Again, I know there's people that disagree. I have no outside influences. I just go by my own personal experience, and that is all I go on for, when I do any review on this channel. Now, if you disagree with my review, if you have an opinion about it, regardless of what your opinion is, leave a comment.